a storm of emotions crackling through the crowd like static before a lightning strike. Fans from all over the world have gathered for this, the rematch that was never supposed to happen, the fight that has haunted the MMA world since their first battle ended in chaos. Chants roar from every corner of the arena, a mix of passionate devotion and sheer hostility. Some are here for redemption, others for dominance, but all have come for war. The octagon stands in the center, a battleground that will soon witness history again. Inside the tunnel, the sound of heavy breathing and the rhythmic thud of gloves against pads echoes down the dimly lit corridor. A fighter paces back and forth, rolling his shoulders, his mind a battlefield of its own. The last time he stepped into the cage with this opponent, it ended in humiliation, a suffocating defeat that sent shockwaves through the sport. Tonight, it's different. Tonight, he has something to prove. Doubts, critics, and personal demons have followed him for years, but none of that matters now. He stops, takes a deep breath, and exhales slowly. This is his moment. On the other side of the arena, another man stands still, composed, unreadable. His warm-up is precise, mechanical, just another night, just another opponent. Yet deep inside, he knows this fight carries weight beyond belts or rankings. The first encounter wasn't just a victory. It was a statement, a dismantling of everything his opponent stood for. But the fight world is fickle, and the calls for a second battle never faded. He could have ignored them. He could have walked away, undefeated, untouched. But there's something about this one that won't let him rest. He adjusts his gloves, cracks his neck, and mutters something under his breath in his native tongue. If the world wants another fight, he'll give them one. Back in the arena, the lights dim, and a single spotlight hits the tunnel entrance. The first walkout begins. Music blares, and the crowd erupts in a frenzy of cheers and jeers. Every step toward the cage is filled with history, with memories of their first war flashing through his mind. The insults, the buildup, the months of psychological warfare, it all led to a brutal reality that he couldn't escape. But tonight, that past no longer defines him. He smirks, shadow boxes in the air, and steps forward with a fire in his eyes that wasn't there before. Minutes later, another song shakes the arena, a different energy flooding the space. This is the presence of dominance, of a man who has never truly known fear inside the octagon. He moves slowly, almost methodically, as if savoring the moment. No rush, no wasted movement, just the confidence of someone who's been here before and walked away victorious. He enters the cage and locks eyes with his opponent. The tension is suffocating. The referee calls them to the center. They stand inches apart, the past burning between them. One man is here for revenge. The other is here to remind the world why he is who he is. The stare down is ice cold, neither man blinking, neither willing to break first. The crowd is deafening, but inside this space, everything else fades away. Only one thought remains: what happens when the cage door locks this time? The ref gives his final instructions. Gloves touch, or maybe they don't. A brief moment of silence stretches before the storm. Then, the bell rings. A split second after the bell, the two fighters explode forward, the air between them charged with years of built-up hostility. The first exchange is hesitant, measured, tactical. Feints are thrown, small movements tested, each man searching for an opening while refusing to give one. Their last battle ended in domination, a fight that had felt less like a competition and more like an undeniable statement of superiority. But something about this moment is different. There's a quiet intensity in the way they move, an unspoken understanding that this isn't just another fight. This is legacy. This is personal. The crowd's energy swells with every minor shift in momentum. Every twitch of a shoulder, every shuffle of a foot is met with gasps and shouts. Those in attendance aren't just watching a fight. They're witnessing a psychological war play out in real time. On one side stands the man who imposed his will in their first encounter, a relentless force who turned their rivalry into a one-sided story. On the other, a fighter known for his precision, his timing, his ability to pick apart an opponent with surgical accuracy until that night when none of it worked. Until he was trapped, drowning under a storm he couldn't escape. That loss rewrote the narrative of his career, and for years, he's lived under its weight. Outside the cage, the story of this rematch stretches far beyond the octagon. In the months leading up to this moment, the fight world has been split. Analysts dissected old footage, comparing strengths and weaknesses, debating whether time had changed either man. Some say the result will be the same, that no matter how much has been adjusted, the styles simply favor one over the other. Others argue that experience, hunger, and preparation can shift any outcome. The buildup has been relentless. Old wounds reopened, words exchanged, and once again, the rivalry spilled beyond the sport. But through all the talk, only one truth remained: their past doesn't matter anymore. This is a new fight. The seconds tick by, and the tension inside the cage continues to grow. A sharp counter lands, drawing a reaction from the crowd. It's not a clean hit, but it's a message, a reminder that this will not be a repeat of the past, not without resistance. The pressure begins to mount, and soon, the fight starts taking its true form. One man pushes forward, testing the waters, attempting to impose his pace. The other circles, calculating, looking for his moment to strike. The dynamic is familiar, yet there's an underlying shift, a slight hesitation that wasn't there before. Beyond the octagon, in the corners of their respective teams, voices ring out with instructions, each coach trying to guide their fighter through the chaos. In one corner, urgency. In the other, control. Both sides know that momentum is everything, that the smallest opening can dictate the direction of this war. For the fans watching, it's impossible to predict what comes next. The first fight felt inevitable, a slow suffocation that ended with a decisive, crushing victory. But this feels like something else entirely. Somewhere in the crowd, former fighters, legends of the sport, watch with silent intensity. They know what it means to step into the cage with history hanging over you. They understand the weight of redemption, of proving something not just to the world, but to yourself. To some, this fight is about belts, rankings, and titles. To others, it's about something deeper: respect, legacy. The answer to a question that has lingered in the shadows since the last time these two men met. Back inside the cage, the rhythm of the fight starts to shift. A perfectly timed takedown attempt shoots forward. It's defended well, but for a split second, the cage door rattles as one man is pressed against it. The energy in the arena spikes, fans on both sides reacting instantly. They've seen this before. They know what can happen if control is established from this position. But just as it seems history is about to repeat itself, a sudden burst of movement reverses the situation, and for the first time, a seed of doubt flickers in the eyes of the dominant force. The fight is far from over. But something is different now. The past is no longer a script set in stone. Tonight, anything can happen. The struggle against the cage intensifies. Muscles strain, Breaths come sharp and fast, and for a moment, it's a battle of pure will. The dominant force in their first encounter, the one who had made this position his kingdom, suddenly finds himself in an unfamiliar moment of uncertainty. His opponent, once trapped in this exact scenario, now fights back differently, not with desperation, but with intention. He plants his feet, shifts his weight, and in one swift move, he escapes the clinch and circles back to the center of the octagon. The crowd reacts instantly, a ripple of shock mixed with excitement. This wasn't supposed to happen, not like this. A smirk flickers across the face of the fighter who just freed himself, a glint of something different in his eyes. Confidence. Maybe even something deeper, vindication. For years, he had been haunted by the helplessness of their first fight, the suffocating feeling of being controlled, outmatched, broken. But now, that old nightmare doesn't hold the same power. The way he stands, the way he moves, it's clear that whatever doubts lingered before stepping into the cage tonight have been buried under months of preparation. He knows exactly what he's doing. And now, so does his opponent. The man who once dictated the fight with relentless pressure adjusts his stance, his mind processing the shift in control. He's never been one to panic, never needed to. His success has always been built on patience, on calculated execution. But for the first time, he's facing resistance where none existed before. This isn't the same opponent from their first war. This is someone who has studied the past and learned from it. And that realization, no matter how small, is dangerous. The exchanges grow sharper, more deliberate. A jab lands clean, snapping a head back. The return shot is a heavy right hand that grazes just enough to remind both fighters what's at stake. The crowd is in a frenzy now, voices blending into a chaotic roar. No one expected it to be this competitive, not after what had happened before. Every moment is tense, unpredictable. Then it happens. The unexpected twist that no one saw coming. A perfectly timed counter, a left hand thrown with absolute precision, connects clean. The impact echoes through the arena, sending shockwaves through the crowd. For a split second, time slows. The once unstoppable force stumbles back, his legs betraying him for the first time in his career. It's not a knockout, but it's enough to shift everything. Gasps erupt from the audience. This is uncharted territory. The man who had built his reputation on control, on dominance, has been shaken. The fighter who landed the shot doesn't hesitate. He rushes forward, knowing this is his moment, the opportunity he never had in their first battle. His opponent recovers quickly, instinctively switching to survival mode, but there's no denying the truth: he's hurt. And for the first time, the world sees what happens when the unstoppable is made vulnerable. In the corner, his team shouts instructions, urgency lacing their voices. They know he's been in tough spots before, but not like this. Not against this man. The fighter pressing forward is relentless now, unleashing a barrage of strikes, forcing his opponent to retreat. This isn't how the story was supposed to go. The crowd senses it. The energy has shifted. The underdog, the man once written off as a footnote in this rivalry, is rewriting the script in real time. But fights like this don't end easily. A desperate takedown attempt is shot, a last-second bid to regain control. Hands lock, leverage shifts, and just as it seems the fight is about to go back to familiar territory, another twist unfolds. The takedown is stuffed, clean, effortless. The man who was once dominated on the ground refuses to be taken there again. The audience erupts. The entire arena is on its feet now, witnessing something they never thought possible. Both fighters reset, breathing heavily, eyes locked with an intensity that could burn through steel. One has tasted power like never before. The other has felt vulnerability for the first time. The war is far from over, but the rules have changed. And as they step forward once again, everyone watching knows this fight is no longer about the past. This is about now. This is about survival. The two warriors stand in the center of the cage, battered, breathing heavily, and locked in a stare that carries the weight of everything that has led them here. The rhythm of the fight has changed multiple times, each man pushing the other to places they've never been before. What began as a tactical battle evolved into a test of resilience, then a war of survival. Now, as the final moments approach, it is something even more raw, a battle of spirit. The past no longer matters, and neither does the hype. It's just them, their will, and the time left on the clock. The crowd, an ocean of voices that has swayed with every moment, is now in an uncontrollable frenzy. Every person in the arena knows they are witnessing something special, something that will be talked about for years. The once dominant force, the man who had seemed invincible, has been tested like never before. The challenger, once dismissed as a rematch that didn't need to happen, has forced the world to reconsider everything they thought they knew. But the fight is not over. And in this final round, the truth will be revealed. The intensity reaches its peak as they trade blows, both refusing to give an inch. A sharp leg kick lands, momentarily staggering the balance of the one who had controlled their first fight. A brutal uppercut follows, sending sweat flying into the air. The retaliation is just as vicious, a body shot that lands with a sickening thud, forcing a wince, followed by a takedown attempt that sends them crashing to the mat. The ground game begins, a battle of control and counters, every movement measured yet desperate. One man searches for an opening to finish, the other fights to escape. Then, in an instant, the defining moment arrives. A reversal slick, perfectly timed flips the script once more. The fighter who was expected to crumble under pressure has now gained top control. The crowd erupts in disbelief. He wastes no time, posturing up and raining down strikes, each one carrying the weight of years of frustration, redemption, and hunger. His opponent, once untouchable, is trapped, unable to escape. The referee watches closely, the energy in the air shifting into something rare shock. The seconds tick away, fists collide against guard and skin, and then, with one final, undeniable strike, the referee steps in. It's over. The arena explodes. The once impossible scenario has become reality. The fighter who was once drowned in doubt and defeat has not only survived, he has conquered. He rises to his feet, exhaustion and disbelief battling for control of his expression. His opponent, the man who had been untouchable for so long, sits up slowly, processing what just happened. For the first time in his career, he has been beaten, not by a lucky punch, not by a fluke, but by a man who refused to be broken again. There is no chaos this time, no post-fight brawls or reckless emotions spilling out of control. Just the heavy silence of realization, followed by a hesitant but mutual nod of respect. No words need to be spoken. The fight answered everything. The past is no longer a shadow hanging over them. It has been rewritten. As the victor's hand is raised, the weight of the moment settles in. Some call it redemption. Some call it fate. Others say it was simply the fight that needed to happen. But as the cameras flash, capturing the final images of the night, one thing is undeniable. This was more than a rematch. This was history. And nothing will ever be the same again.